The next question we have to address is, what is and why should we do conceptual thinking? Well, there is one question which brings us forward. What are we doing while we are thinking about political, social, economic, cultural, whatever phenomena? Well, when thinking, we are somehow talking to ourselves, and be it silently. But what are we doing while talking to others, including ourselves, about whatever phenomenon? Well, we are using names like Stalin or Chile, or we are using notions or analytical categories or concepts like state and violence, and like governing or making a revolution. Out of these names and concepts, we formulate propositions like Germany is a democracy, or pluralism guarantees liberty. Listening carefully to our talks, we recognize that our propositions come in different forms, like descriptions, if-then statements, explanations, predictions. All of these serve different purposes. And at the core of all propositions are inescapably concepts, analytical categories, notions, however you want to put it. And this is why a scientific thinking is basically conceptual thinking, thinking in analytical categories. And this is why reflecting about scientific talking in its various forms needs reflecting about concepts. And this is what we will work through during this section of our course. And the way to go includes 3 important stopovers. First one, what is a concept? Second one, what role do concepts play in theory? And finally, what are we doing when we define a concept? Let's start with the first issue. What is a concept? And you will see on the next slide, in a very condensed form, everything which is necessary for understanding what a concept really is. You remember this part of the world, this tiny village, apparently from the Alps? Well, that's we, again. We are the observer, the researcher of this part of reality. And we are interested in a particular section of this reality, in this one. Because we want to communicate with others about what we see, about what we are interested in, we have the task to separate this section in reality from other sections of the same reality linguistically, such that we make this section reportable and therefore observable to others or by others. Well, what are we going to do for this purpose? We try to describe what characteristics of reality we are looking at while looking at this particular section of reality. And we describe at which characteristics the other ones should look as well if they want to see the same section of reality. For instance, what we are looking at might be described as a particularly dense building structure in the midst of a settlement. This is what we call the intention of a concept. And be careful, it's intention with an S and not intention with a T. It has nothing to do with to intend something. It has to do with what we are looking at when looking at something. And of course, we need a word which suggests to oneself and to others that attention should be drawn to exactly these characteristics of a section of reality. For instance, we would ask and invite to agree that we call this particularly dense building structure in the midst of a settlement simply a village center. This is what we call the triggering word of a concept. And you see, the triggering word is not identical with the concept itself. It's only and no more than a trigger. By using this word, it is possible to trigger a precise picture in the mind. And this picture of the mind, of course, will cover this particular section of reality, but it will cover as well other sections of reality which display the same characteristics. Because other settlements can, of course, also have particularly dense building structures in their midst. And this is what we call the extension of a concept or of a notion. So, a concept is nothing but a picture in the mind. A picture in the mind which is triggered by an agreed upon word. This we call a defined word. And this word is of course not identical with the concept, but these words can vary, like they are varying across different languages. So let's sum up. What are the components of a concept? First, we have its intention, which is made clear by definition. Then we have the extension of the concept. That is all the parts of the world to which this concept can be applied, based by its defined intention. Third, we have a word that triggers this picture on the mind. This concept is triggered by the word. And of course, all of that is embedded in a certain perspective on reality. Like all views on reality are once in a certain perspective. So you see, a concept can have a very large extension, independent on how detailed we might define the intention. And these are the things we have to look at more closely afterwards.